All right, what's up, guys? It's Kyle, also known as the Panda Man, back with another episode of Unlocking Your Inner Strength. Today I got a very special guest, longtime friend, Chaz Sickles. Charles, thanks for being with me.
Kyle, it is a pleasure. My pleasure.
I like it, man.
As they say at Chick-fil-A.
Yeah, it's great. Taking the shoes and socks off. I love it, man. So, where do we begin? Why don't you tell everybody just briefly when we met, why you decided to join the gym, and then we'll go from there.
Sure. Well, it was 10 years ago at this point. I don't remember exactly what month, but it was 2015. Mm-hmm. I do remember that. And I have to be honest, lost to history in my mind is exactly what the source was, where I saw the advertisement about Rip Dads.
Probably Facebook.
I saw this advertisement about Rip Dads. It might have been Facebook.
Yeah.
Honestly, 2015 was the first year I even bothered getting on Facebook.
Yeah.
But that's possible. And there was something about this ad that was different. Just the way it was worded, it was something that hooked me. It made me think, this might actually work. This might be something real. And so I tried it, and I guess I don't remember again when I found out that my neighbor, Lanny Shiro, was also going to the gym. And then since then, numerous other friends and neighbors around the community and Hillsborough and surrounding towns and so forth. And so I tried it, I believe if I remember correctly, like 6-week program. And the goal was, it was actually a little bit of a contest as well, where it was whoever gained the most muscle mass. And, skinny ectomorph that I am, people might think I have an advantage, but, you're an expert, that's not always the case. Because, there is a skinny fat, thing. And so I don't know how. I mean, I've seen some of the competition in years since then. I don't know how long you'd been running the Rip Dads at that point, but
that was one of the first ones.
One of the first ones, yeah. So I guess I was lucky. I was one of the first ones because I actually won. And look, I just followed the program, and it was real. What I didn't want was one of those nonsense places where the first thing you walk in and it's 100 treadmills. I think automatically, like you could just disqualify this place. Yeah. And some of this stuff is, in life it is true. A lot of times, not always, a lot of times you get what you pay for. And this, it's $10 a month for whatever. And you go for a little while, you fail, and wash, rinse, repeat, and nothing changes and nothing really happens. And so the really unique thing about Newell Strength was, it was first and foremost about the mindset, about the community, and about really embracing the things of what's your why, what's important to you, goal setting, and all those things that I came to know that you understand so well and have spent your whole life really researching and exemplifying. And it was legit. It was real. I actually got demonstrable results. I was thrilled to continue to, keep going to the gym. Like I found my place, found my tribe.
Yeah.
And I mean, honestly, I don't say a statement like this lightly, but, you're definitely one of the people I look back on my life and I would say, you changed my life. You had a demonstrable impact on my life. And a big deal with me is health, because throughout the course of my life, I have lost way too many loved ones too early. And, sometimes it was things beyond their control. But a lot of times it comes down to, your body's a temple and how are you treating that temple? And a lot of people spend a lot of years abusing that temple.
Yes, sir.
And so, learning all that, the nutritional aspect of it was a key. And obviously, all your pioneering work on fasting, which has been amazing to see you, become literally the world's leading expert on fasting. It's been amazing. That's where it started. And what a ride it's been. It's been great. I'm just so lucky and happy. And my biggest fear is just if you ever move away and I don't have Newell Strength anymore. And by the way, another thing, you've been a great cultivator of talent because you've had amazing coaches over the years. And honestly, look, it's the same thing I have at work. You train people up and they have success and they flourish, and then they go on to the next step. And sometimes it's within our own company, sometimes maybe it's somewhere else. But it's always a bittersweet moment because you may, be sad that you're losing a good person, a good employee, and hopefully they're always a good friend. But, you just have to be confident that, trust the process and you'll find the right people. And, if you have the right kind of training and processes and so forth, and I'm a big believer in process, as you are, I know, you'll continue to find the right people. And man, you have. Like every time I felt like, oh, that guy's leaving or that gal's leaving, and I was so upset. Turned out the next week, I'm like, I think this person might be even a little better. So that's been awesome too.
That's awesome to hear, man. I appreciate you saying all that. And it's hard to believe it's been 10 years.
Yeah, flew by.
Yeah, it's nuts, man. It's, I made my little Friday Facebook video before, but I was talking about that, how energy is the main currency, right? You think about the word currency, right? It's a current, it's energy. But energy is a magnet, right? So you're either going to attract the right people or repel people, right? Depending on your energy. But I think it's, to the point with the coaches there, it's the place, right? It attracts the right person. The culture, all the clients, and it's, right? The community that we have there is like nothing else.
Yes.
And it brings the right people in. So, I wish I could take credit for it, but I think it's you guys.
Well, I mean, it's a combination. I mean, it starts at the top with you setting the tone and creating that energy. I'm a big believer in that too. I don't know if someday science will prove things like aura and all that stuff, but I am a believer in that. People are drawn to enthusiasm and energy, and there's positive energy and negative energy, and just try to eliminate the negative energy as much as you can.
Yeah, you got to weed it out, man. Weed it out. So when was that? That was May. Was it May or June? It was June when you performed at next door to the gym.
Yes.
So I really want to dive into that, right? Because we'll tell people first, right? What's your full-time day job, the gig that you have regularly? Because I think it's amazing that you have the music career that, and I want to really dive into that. So just give people a little background. What is your full-time day job?
Sure. I definitely have some kind of right brain, left brain balance going on because my day job, and I've been doing this for 35 years, is in the financial industry. So I joke all the time I'm basically a traveling salesman, or I manage traveling salesmen and women. But I've been basically in some kind of financial investment sales for my entire career, right out of college. I was 25 years at Merrill Lynch. I was a couple years at BlackRock. And, for folks that are in that industry, Merrill Lynch is one of the biggest preeminent brokerage firms in the United States, in the world. BlackRock is the world's largest asset manager in the entire world. And then more recently, I took a different turn to a smaller, what I feel is a sort of a more people-friendly and dynamic and differentiated kind of a place. It's called Advisors Asset Management. And at that particular shop, what we do is we identify really top-flight institutional asset managers that have been serving institutional clients, not retail investors, not folks like you and me. And they want to break into that retail wealth management space. And they plug into our system of wholesalers, many of whom you've met at our meetings, because we have featured Kyle at those conferences the last 2 years, our national sales meeting at the end of every year. And it's plug and play. They tap into our ecosystem, if you will, which I kind of hate that word. It's a buzzword lately, but it fits. Of salespeople and product management and marketing and legal and compliance and operations and everything else. So it's very easy for them. They have to decide, do they want to build it or buy it? And with us, they can just buy it at a very economical cost and get into all these firms and channels to be able to access those types of investors. So that's what I've been doing for the better part of 35 years. It's been a great ride. Merrill Lynch especially. I started in the international part of the business. On Merrill Lynch's dime, I got to see the world all over Asia and Latin America and Europe, which was amazing. I wish we had smartphones back then. I'd have a lot more really cool pictures. but I got a few, but not as many. And yeah, it's been wonderful. And just also, you're in an environment where you're just surrounded by type A's all day long. And you gotta bring your A game every day. I had a boss one time that told me, you don't want to be so anxious every day that you're just debilitated. You can't get anything done. But you want to come in every day with that little pit in your stomach that tells you, I got to add value today. I got to get some results. And that's the way it is. And I think that that's healthy, and it's a good environment that keeps you on your toes and keeps you learning. I've learned so many things every year. Kiss of death in life in general is thinking you know everything about anything.
Yeah.
But and you always talk about this, just constant learning. You're an autodidact, and I like to pride myself on thinking I'm the same. That's what it's like in this business. I'm just every job, every role, every company, every interaction, I feel like I'm learning something, and keeps the neurons firing, and it's been a great experience. But the other side of me, if you were doing this podcast with the 18-year-old me, I would have told you my absolute goal was to be the most influential rock star of the 1990s. And clearly that didn't happen, folks. But anyway, music's always been a big passion of mine. It's always been something I've really poured a lot of time and energy into. When I was in my teens and 20s, we were writing original music and playing out in the clubs and so forth. But then marriage, kids, career, which I don't regret one second. It's been amazing. Got to, a little bit later stage in my life, and a couple of things happened. And, one was tragic and one was celebratory. But one of my best buddies from high school, who I used to play in bands with in high school, he died of a brain aneurysm. And if you know brain aneurysms, he was in the shower. If they don't get you to the hospital in 20 minutes, you're gone. So that was very sudden and shocking. And he had been a great buddy and a musical, brother in arms. So that hit me really hard. A song just poured out of me, just a tribute song to my friend. And it kind of reminded me that I knew how to write songs. But then it was still a couple years later, then my best friend from high school, who also played in many bands with over the years, he got engaged. And I saw on Facebook he had posted a song. He wrote a song for his fiance. And I said, wait a minute. He wrote a song for his girl. I got to write a song for my girl. So I wrote a song for Mona, my wife, my muse. And the floodgates just opened. And before you know it, I had 20, 30 songs that I had written, which might sound crazy, but I'm telling you, when the floodgates open, you really tap into it. There's times when musicians will tell you this, like they'll go through, it's like anything else. It's like a ball player. They go through a period, baseball player. It's like the baseball looked like a grapefruit. You just get in the zone, things slow down. It's just flowing out of you. Although I'll tell you, I had a hack that worked really well to get the songs going. And I just picked what I thought were 10 of the better songs, got my regular cover band together, went into the studio with my son Grant as well on lead guitar, which was an amazing experience. We could talk about that. And we laid down some tracks and recorded an album, and now you can listen to it on Spotify, all you wonderful people listening out there.
Amazing. It's
Chaz and the Skylands Gang. And so we played the debut show at the winemaking place next to the gym.
Yeah.
And it was a great experience. And by the way, one of the guys who was helping me out, doing some videotaping, I mentioned to him I was going to do a podcast recording with you, and he goes, "Oh, I remember that guy, the guy that looked like a movie star." And I'm like, that was him.
That's funny, man. That's funny. Yeah, it was awesome, man. I got the album sitting right in the kitchen up on one of the cabinets. I loved the whole thing, right? Like the style of it, the black and white.
Yeah, there's a story to that.
Yeah, tell us about it.
Yeah. So first of all, I love stuff like that.
Yeah,
I'm a big history buff. And so Mona and I were at a pub in Lambertville. And, like in the front of any place, they've got people are leaving their cards and, hawking their wares. Somebody had a little flyer about this sort of old time photography. They call it, I think it's called, I might mess this up, wet plate collodion or collodion photography. And it's the kind of photography that they did back in the late 1800s when photography first came out. The crazy thing where, they take the drape off the lens and the flash bulbs pop in your face. That's why everybody looks so stunned in those old pictures, because the flash bulbs are popping in their face. And I just love the look of that. And it suited the vibe of the music and the band, and I kind of came up with this whole somewhat silly backstory, which, it's on the bio on the Spotify page, but it really fits the sort of aesthetic of the band. And so and it's the kind of thing too, it's like we took 2 pictures, and he always says, the first one always turns out better, and it was, but it's not the kind of thing like your phone. You take 50 pictures and pick the best one. It's like you got to get it right.
How long does it take to get like one of those photos?
Not actually that long. It's literally, they call it the wet plate. It's like he inserts this plate into the camera, and then he takes it out, and it's the kind of thing, he puts it in a container, pours water on it, and then the plate kind of comes to life and develops. And but it literally, I should have brought it with me. It's like a plate of glass, and the picture's on there, and I've since scanned it to use it digitally, but. That was it, and we had a great time dressing up and having some fun with it, and that's the cover, and that was definitely the vision for it.
Yeah, it's a freaking awesome, man. And well, we got to tell everybody the name of the band too before we go any further.
Yes, so it's Chaz and the Skylands Gang, and that comes from 2 things. One is my nickname in high school growing up was Chaz, nickname for Charles. And Skylands, as you may know, but that's generally what they call the northwest region of New Jersey, where I grew up, the Skylands.
Sussex County. For sure, Sussex County. I think I've seen definitions of Skyland that includes, Warren and Hunterdon and even Somerset. And yeah, because it used to be the Skylands Conference here.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
okay.
When I was in high school, but it's, yeah.
Well, I think it's more appropriate up there because it really is so much more mountainous.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Hillsborough is nice. It is hills, but up there it truly is mountains. I grew up on the top of a mountain, Sparta Mountain.
Yeah.
And it's still very rural up there. It hasn't been overdeveloped. Oh, it's so nice.
I love it up there.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's awesome, man. So you have, and the music too, guys, by the way, is awesome. Obviously, I could just tell you that, but I've sent you some videos where I played at the gym. I listened to it when we're driving.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
So it's like it's actually really good music. It's what I like. So take us through like the first song or any song that you write. When you sit down to write it, is it like you're writing like a poem, or like what's the process?
Yeah. This is a great question. And I would say you could ask, 100 songwriters and you'd get 100 different answers. Always a little bit different for everybody. I mentioned before I had a little hack.
Yeah, what is that?
That got me going. And it's very simple, but so maybe this is a sign of my encroaching age and prostate issues, but 4 a.m. I'm waking up to go take a pee, right? And I'd have a little melody buzzing in my head, maybe even a little scrap of a lyric. And in the past, I would normally say, no problem. I'll remember this when I wake up, and then I'll just figure it out. Of course, I never would. I never remembered it. Mm-hmm. So now I forced myself. I'd wake up. I'd have something playing in my head. I'd force myself. I have a little office space right off of our bedroom, our master bedroom, and I would go in there, have a guitar, bring my phone, and very quietly, I would be figuring out like, okay, what's that melody? And I would figure out the notes and figure out the chords that went underneath it. And then I would just record it real quick. And then I'd wake up the next morning and listen to it and decide, was this any good or is this just crap? And, more often than not, I thought there was something to it. And sometimes the little scrap of lyric would suggest something else. It would give you a direction. It would suggest maybe a story or something. And once you kind of latch onto that, I find anyway, I'm not going to say it's easy, but that then you can just start piling onto that. You can always edit stuff back that you don't like or doesn't fit or it's too long or whatever it is. But, you need enough material to work with. I mean, look, most songs are 3 minutes long. So, you have a couple of verses, couple of choruses, and you get out. And that was it. So, but there's different parts too. Like a song like "Fallen," for example. That whole melody came into my head with the chorus as well, which is basically just one line. But I didn't have the verses, and the melody for the verse came about a month later, and it put the key together, and it kind of fit stylistically, and then. I had a melody, and then you're just thinking of words that would fit that melody. And the first line hit me, well, now there's no turning back. That was the first line of the verse. Okay, well, now there's no turning back. Turning back from what? You could go a million different places from that, but it seemed like something where something had ended, something new was starting. Maybe some sadness, maybe some excitement, maybe some trepidation, maybe some and so then it just took off from there. And that particular song, like a lot of times songwriters don't want to explain songs because they want the listener just to decide on their own meaning. And it's all totally valid. If you listen to it and think one thing, that song Fallen, where it says, tonight I feel like you and I have fallen. I sort of meant fallen like, like in the biblical sense of like fall from grace or, fall from innocence. And a good buddy of mine from college, he said, "Oh, I thought you just meant fallen in love." And I'm like, "Well, it could be that too."
Yeah.
And when I thought about it, because that hadn't even entered my mind, like then it also cast the song in a little bit of a different light. But that is a strand through that particular song too, because then what I thought of was, the fall from grace, and I was thinking more like of like the image of Adam and Eve and being cast out of paradise and all that stuff. And you just have to. Something has happened, and you just have to decide. Life goes on, and we're going to figure it out, and we're going to, do our best. And so that's kind of the vibe of the song. But it's left a little bit vague and not so specific on purpose, because people could read into it whatever they want to read into it. So that was that song, and that's a little bit about how all the songs kind of came together. Is every once in a long while, I might say to myself, I want to write a blues song, or I want to write this song or that song. And you set yourself a little bit of a challenge. Let me see if I could write in that kind of genre. Like the song Hoping You'll Forgive Me, kind of came out as a blues song. And I like that. In fact, the record, although I'd say all of it is, kind of Americana, country rock sort of, but it still hits a lot of different subgenres within that. There's some blues, some bluegrass, some folk, some songs are definitely more country than others. Some are definitely rock. So it's a mix, because I like that. I like the eclecticism of that. But anyway, so it was fun.
It's amazing. If I was just talking with a buddy about it this morning, like Thomas Edison, they say, he would lay there with keys in his hand and the plate on the ground, and he would take these cat naps. So as soon as he would fall asleep enough where they drop the keys and hear it, he'd wake up and write down whatever idea was in his mind.
That's exactly what I'm talking about.
Yeah, it's a subconscious.
Genius.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, like forget about songs even, I'm sure you've had this too. Like you got to be really open to that, especially when you're sleeping, because I've had like work problems that I felt like I solved them, in a dream.
1,000%.
And suddenly it was clarity.
Yeah. Matt Fury, who coaches me, for a long time now, he's real big in, writing, right? So he taught me a lot about that. But when you wake up like you did, okay, right? Because the subconscious is still active. It hasn't been really put to the background, right? And then also, like you're saying, solving, like one thing he's taught me is ask yourself powerful questions before you go to sleep. Let the subconscious come up with them.
Yes.
And that's exactly what
That's one of the things you taught my team.
Yeah.
Is, you might feel paralyzed. You don't know where to start. What do I do? Just start asking yourself questions, because we're hardwired to try to solve problems.
Yeah.
And I believe in that so much.
And you can't ignore a question.
Yeah.
It's impossible for the brain to ignore a question.
Yep.
Like if I said, what'd you eat for breakfast this morning? Even if you wanted to ignore it, you can't.
Yeah, it's the kind of thing like when you say, don't think of an elephant,
That's exactly it.
Automatically you're going to answer that question.
So that's so cool, man. So with the music, because I don't understand all the lingo, so you can typically come up with the melody first or before the lyrics?
Sometimes both of them will come together.
Okay.
It'll be a melody that there's some words that were rolling around my head that fit that melody. But more often than not, I would say it is that it's melody driven, and then you put in the words that fit the rhythm of that melody.
Okay.
Yeah. So like I say, it's usually when there's words, it's just like a phrase or something. Like even the song Blame Game. Actually, that song, the whole kind of first verse came to me just kind of in that dream state.
Yeah.
And then, and that was the reverse. Like I actually came up with the chorus later. So it goes all different directions. You just have to be open to it. And, I know, obviously to write songs and things, you have to have some degree of natural musical aptitude.
Sure.
And, typically be able to play an instrument or, in some way express yourself, but not always even. I mean, there's people that, they don't play, but they can come up with melodies. And nowadays it's so easy, just record it on a phone. There's plenty of people that can put the music underneath it, and engineers and producers that can make it come to life and make it sound great. In fact, the studio where we recorded, I want to put out a plug for them. It was called Ponderosa Studios up in Sussex County in Lafayette Township. And the engineer owner there is a guy named Tom Askin. He's an old, in Sparta, there's the public school where I went, and then there's a Catholic school, Pope John, and he went to the Catholic school. So we weren't in all the same circles, but we knew each other. And he's a super talented guy, amazing engineer. And, he would give me samples of things. He'd be like, listen to this. And he would play me a little cassette of, something that sounded, not produced and even a little amateurish. And then he would play me the finished product, and it would sound just transformed, amazing, professional, ready for the radio. So it's amazing what you can do. You just have to have that germ of an idea. And then, with the right collaborators, like everything else in life, you can bring it to life. So I like to think I gave him a little more to work with, but don't get me wrong. He polished us up a lot. He made us sound great.
It sounds awesome.
Yeah.
Well, but even live, you guys were amazing. I wish I could have stayed. We had Ainsley, so we were kind of on a little bit of a time budget, but it was great live.
Thank you.
It was really, really good.
I'm surrounded by very, very talented musicians and friends in that band. The drummer and bass player who played on the record, amazing. Grant, really, at a young age, really taken to the guitar. Lauren, who plays in the cover bands that we played in before, she's doing great. I'll give a plug for her band, Suit and Mai Tai cover band, yacht rock band, dominating on the Jersey Shore. And then we brought in a guy because I really wanted to have the full sound of the record. We needed, there's layers of instruments and guitars and things on the record. So we brought in a guy named Steve Gibb. Actually, Lauren's last name is Gibbs, with an S, and this is Steve Gibb, no S. So they're probably distant ancestors somewhere in there, distant relatives. And he's actually Scottish, and he's a professional. He's done all kinds of things. He was the musical director for Jersey Boys and the Buddy Holly Story and the West End in London. This is their version of Broadway. And he's done all kinds of stuff. He's got a lot of great stuff on Spotify. He's done all kinds of great acoustic instrumental records. So this guy is amazing. Like he said, well, I think as long as I have one rehearsal with you guys, I'll be fine. And I'm thinking, one rehearsal, like, is that going to be enough? Is he going to, get it all down? It was more than enough. This guy was so amazing. He learned all the songs, and he played wonderfully, and he really added some great depth and color to the music that night. So I was grateful to him as well. And now we're up on Spotify, and we're looking to get a bunch more gigs out there in the local area soon. So I will certainly be letting you guys know.
Yeah, it's awesome. That kind of leads into the next thing. Like what's the vision at this point? How far do you want to take it? And because you guys are talented. Like what is the vision? Well,
Kyle, I was taught by a mastermind that, like dream big and manifest these things. And so, on the wall in your gym, everybody writes their goals down.
Yeah.
Because I know you're a big believer in that, as am I. First of all, having goals. Secondly, actually writing them down, and the tactile experience of actually writing them.
Yes.
Versus like typing them.
Yeah, huge difference.
Yeah, huge difference. There's literally science behind that.
Yeah.
And so you ask everybody to do that. I wrote down to have the number one song on the country charts. That's my goal. So, look, everything, I make a record, I want to make a record as good as the Beatles.
Yeah.
Now, people would listen and be like, well, you fell a little bit short there, Chaz, but just in trying,
yes,
you are going to do so much better. And who knows? You keep progressing. Like, this is the first record we did. You know, I want the next one. I'm already thinking about the next one, and we want that one to be better. By the way, I'm inspired by our joint musical hero, Charlie Crockett, who has a new album out today.
Yeah.
By the way,
It came out today.
Just came out today.
Oh, yeah.
And here's another guy. You listen to his early records.
Yeah.
The voice is always there. I mean, he's just got that voice. But you know, the recording, the songs, they're definitely, you know, simpler and, you know, not as polished as what he puts out now. And you know, however many records he's into it now, he's a machine. He's unbelievable.
He is.
He's putting out 2 records a year. I mean, nobody does that anymore.
Yeah, he's you know, I heard him randomly when I was on a vacation a couple years ago, just with the stuff I listened to and the algorithm. And you know, he is amazing, man. I listened to that Rogan interview with him and the hustle that he went through, and I think he was talking about during COVID how he bought billboards because everything was so cheap. You know, and he was just trying to figure out how to get out there. So he bought like a billboard in New York City, you know, and he was like a gypsy for a while, just traveling around, playing in the subways, you know, whatever he had to do.
I heard that.
So it was really cool, man. And he's, you know, you've done a great job too with the branding, right? Because the first thing when I saw him, I'm like, when is this guy like from Johnny Cash's era? You know, I was confused. I'm like, where is he? But he does that intentionally, right? It's very smart. Everything, the artwork, how he dresses.
Yes, and his sound. It's a very retro sound.
Very retro.
Yeah,
very retro,
I love
man.
it.
And, you know, it's the cool thing, though, about your vision. Like, I'm going to see in September Willie Nelson and Bob Dylan.
Oh, I'm seeing them tomorrow.
Where are they at?
At Hershey.
They're at Hershey, okay.
Yeah.
I'm going to PNC.
I love it.
Because I want to see them while they're still alive. But
that's what I thought.
yeah, right? But it shows you music is something you can do forever.
Yes.
You know, and something I saw with my grandfather, who was a stonemason, but he was kind of like a Renaissance man. But then my coach, Matt, had brought up, we were talking about Willie Nelson and Bob Dylan, is those that create typically live longer. It keeps the brain young.
Yes,
right?
yes.
So you're always creating and working on stuff. So you could be doing this when you're 90, 95. So getting to that number one spot, you still have a lot of runway in front of you. You know, it's no rush. It's just the process, right? And enjoying the process. And then you play one gig, somebody might be there that opens that next door, right?
That's it.
The way it
you know,
goes.
you got to just keep putting it out there. And you know, the funny thing is, you were saying with the image and so forth, I learned a lot of that from you, and you were very explicit about that in front of my team.
Yeah.
I think a lot of it went over their heads, and you know, I know it's a saying, and you say this and believe in this all the time, that you know, the teacher will appear when the student is ready.
Yeah.
And I think some of them are ready and some of them weren't ready. But you talked about you have to make yourself a character.
Yeah.
And you have to make yourself fascinating to people. And that they're drawn to, like, oh, what this guy or gal do next? Like, what, you know, look at this they're doing now. Like, that's amazing. I'm intrigued.
Yeah.
And even, you know, thinking about, we've known each other 10 years, just watching you from 10 years ago to now, and, you know, with Panda Man Official, and just, you know, being the fasting expert and everything you got going on, and all the other, obviously, aspects of your persona, it's been amazing, and it's very inspiring.
Thank you.
I'm dead serious, man.
Thank you.
Honestly, there'd be no Chaz without the Panda Man. I'm telling you right now.
No, I'd love to hear that, man. It's cool. And part of it was just, you know, stepping into, really probably about 5 years ago, you know, I'm a big introvert. You know, I used to hate social settings. I just always felt out of place, you know, but it was finally when I was like, you know what, I'm just going to accept that I'm weird, because everybody's weird. Right. And I was like, that's just how, and I'm just going to start being okay with that. And, you know, then it took it the character to the next. You know, I knew I always had an interesting mind in terms of thinking about stuff a lot of people probably never think about, like Bigfoot, right?
Yep.
But I was just curious about stuff. But then letting that stuff come out, and like you're saying, to most people, right, as Chaz and the Skyland gang keep growing, you're only going to be, to most people, fictional characters, because they're never going to meet you.
Right.
So
yeah,
it's
good
like,
point.
You know, it's like you want them, man, that guy's interesting, you know. And there's so many things to that. And I just think the creative process, you know, like you said, there's so many layers to that character, right? And it's, you know, the way you dress today, right? It's awesome, right? Like, a lot of people shy away from that. Like, oh, I got to look the same way as everybody else. I remember because obviously Schwarzenegger was a big impact on me growing up. Just that really got me into the the bodybuilding and all that. But he had said at one point, he's like, the worst thing you could be is average, because then you're just like everybody else. And that's just like got burned into my brain. I'm like, why would you want to be like everybody else?
Yeah. No, I thought about that even today, because I knew you would be you.
Yeah.
And I was like, I can't even imagine sitting across from you just like, wearing a button-down shirt and khakis or something, like that.
Yeah.
That'd be ridiculous.
Yeah.
And, that just wouldn't make any sense. So, no, it's been very inspiring to me to watch. And the other thing too is, your domination of social media. It's astonishing to me. I will say, I know, well, I read something in this book, Atomic Habits. It talks about 5-year chunks. And, 5 years is kind of a good, to pick a number, a good time frame for anything meaningful you want to achieve in your life. That 5 years is probably a good amount of time that, from start to finish that you would get there. And, think about, your journey in the last 5 years and where you were and where you are now. And so I feel like I kind of started this journey at the beginning of 24. So, here, I'm like 18 months into it, right? But so I think I've made a lot of progress, but I got a lot of work to do from here to be serious. And especially the social media stuff. I mean, I know I'm older than you, but I didn't grow up with this stuff.
Yeah.
Our kids grow up with this stuff. And so that's been a whole learning curve. I was actually down in Texas a couple weeks ago, and one of my work buddies' sons was there, and he said, I could get you to blow up on TikTok, no problem. I have a secret. I know I could tell you the secret of how to do it. And I'm like, lay it on me, man. Am I gonna have to pay $19.95 to hear the secret? He goes, no, I'll tell you. He goes, post 3 times a day. I'm like, that's it? Post 3 times a day? I'm like, okay. But then he would show me these little videos of him. He'd put on a jacket and a pair of glasses and twirl around for 15 seconds and put that on TikTok 3 times a day. He's got more followers than I do, so he's doing something right.
It's the key there. I mean, these guys can tell you a lot better than me, but it is just the consistency. I always say if you take quitting off the table, there's only one option. You're going to succeed. Now you don't know the timeline, but because how many people, right, that have bands, right, and they start with social media and then they stop. Because, I don't have 10,000 followers already. Well, you've been doing it for 2 months. It's like, and these guys know, like, when we started, but, and they'll tell you too, like, it's been years in the making, right? Like, YouTube was like 2011, I think, or something like that. When I started that, I had no idea what I was doing, but it never stopped. Then I, connected with, owner and Okan and the crew. And they had the skill set, okay, they're the experts in it, right? And I just kind of focus on what I'm good at, as far as that. But if you don't give up, you know what the outcome is. You're going to succeed.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah, you just keep plowing forward, man. It's inspiring, man. It's really just cool for me to see. Well,
I will tell you that, this was a little bit unexpected, and I am loving the ride, of this whole thing. And, the record especially, it's definitely personal. There's a lot of it, when you come up with stuff at 4 a.m, you're definitely tapping into your subconscious. So a lot of it is things that when I'm long gone, I would hope that my kids would still be able to listen to those songs and understand what Dad was thinking at that time and, what was going on in my mind, what was important to me. Some of it's, direct and some of it's a little more, oblique, but it's all in there. It's all in the songs. And you mentioned Thomas Edison earlier and how he would fall asleep.
Yeah.
Part of the bio, came up with this little fictional bio for the band. And where I grew up on top of Sparta Mountain, Thomas Edison's a great example. I mean, he failed at all kinds of things. Yeah. I mean, we know him for the things he succeeded, the famous things, but he failed at all kinds of things. One of the things he was doing was he was mining the iron ore at the top of Sparta Mountain. This is in the 1890s. And J.P. Morgan was one of his backers, gave him millions of dollars to try to perfect this iron ore, to produce these little coal briquettes. And he did produce them, but There's a lot of trial and error, and it was expensive to do it. And then somebody out west, I forget where it was, somebody like in Minnesota or something, perfected a simpler, easier, cheaper way to do it. And then that kind of went out of business. But there's pictures at the top of the mountain. There's a little sort of, what would you call it, like a monument to where his operation was. And when you look at these pictures, he had built like this whole town at the top of the mountain, and none of it exists anymore. It's except for little fragments. Like to get the iron ore off the mountain, he would use railway cars, and the turnstile for the rail cars, you could still see that. It's because it's concrete; it's embedded in the ground. Here and there, you can even literally find, if you really look carefully, some of those embedded briquettes in the ground, and it's right there, and a lot of it's all fenced off because these mines that they dug went really deep.
Sure.
And if you fell down one of those mines, you'd probably kill yourself.
Sure.
So it's serious. Like you got to not mess around with that. But that got my brain going, and I was thinking, maybe the real reason that he actually had to stop that operation and why they fenced it all off from the public was because with all that digging, he somehow uncovered a distortion in the time-space continuum, created a time portal that the government didn't want anybody
Totally possible.
nearby, right?
Yeah.
And so the Skylands gang was a bunch of ne'er-do-wells in Sussex County in the early part of the last century, and they tried to rob the Lehigh and Hudson River Valley train. And they failed in the attempt at the robbery, but they created a lot of mayhem over a course of about 24 hours, and they broke into a jewelry store and a creamery, and they found a slot machine, which seems like a random thing to find. This is real stuff that it was in an account about Sussex County from the year 1907, something like that. And they wanted to know, they gave everybody's names and where they were from. Joe Smith from Syracuse, New York, and Billy Jones from Lancaster, Pennsylvania. And then, Bobby something from, he wouldn't say where he was from. The one guy, the last guy, the fifth guy, wouldn't say where he was from. And that got my brain turning, like, why wouldn't he say where he was from? I mean, like, everybody else fessed up, and like, they're gonna probably find out anyway. And then I thought, you know what? He probably doesn't want his mom to find out. If his mom finds out he got in trouble, she's gonna kill him. And so that was the impetus for the song "The Fifth Man." That's the song "The Fifth Man." But it also was sort of the genesis of this, fictional story that, this fictional gang, which was real. This incident was real. You can't make this stuff up. The town they were in, New Jersey, the sheriff there is named Judson Gunn. Could you think of a better name for a sheriff than Judson Gunn?
That's great.
And so it said they chased these guys with a posse, which included every male member of the town. So you can imagine this giant posse chasing these guys down, and they apprehended them, and they were charged with burglary and atrocious assault. And I'm like, atrocious assault? That seems like an antiquated term. My father-in-law told me now they would call that assault and battery.
Okay.
But back then they called it atrocious assault. And I just thought that I had the music for that song for probably over 10 years, just the riff. And it never went anywhere. I had no inspiration for the lyrics. And then I read that story, and I was already in the zone. And I was just like, everything now that I see, I'm like, that's a song, that's a song, that's a song. Like anything that happens.
Yeah.
I'll just give you another quick anecdote. But I was mentioning earlier, my in-laws live in a very beautiful part of South Carolina. And we go to visit them, and we were there's an inn on the property, which is a very beautiful old plantation house, which is now converted into an inn and a restaurant. And we got there a little bit early, and we went to the bar, and there was a bartender there, and we ordered some wine, and she gave us the wine back, and we looked at it, we're like, wow, that's a really nice pour. When you get somebody gives you a glass of wine and you're like, something these days they're all measuring it out exactly, 6 ounces, 9 ounces, what size you want. She gave us a really great pour. And I said, well, that's a really nice pour, thank you. And she goes, Yeah, I get that all the time. They call it a Patty pour because she goes, I'm Patty. And I turned to Mona and I said, that's a song.
Yeah.
That's a song.
Yeah.
So I actually wrote a song about the Patty pour in tribute to her. And later that year, we came down during Thanksgiving, and I didn't want to play it for her until we had properly recorded it and it was all perfectly produced. But I had my little acoustic demo, and Mona insisted, and she played it for her. And she loved it. She actually kind of teared up, and
Wow.
and she said, and this made me love her even more. She said, I'm an artsy person, and so I understand music and film and stuff. So I can appreciate this. Like, I really like, this is amazing that you did this for me. And she said, so I'm telling you, like, I love it because it's about me, but this is a hit song, no matter what, who it's about or anybody, because this is a very catchy song. And I'm like, okay, we'll see. Let's hope the Spotify public likes it as much as you do. So that one's not out there yet, but that's on the drawing board for album
really
number 2.
Cool, man. That's awesome. It's just like what we do with the content, man. Everything is content.
Yes.
And and you have the right mind, right? Everything you say, man, it's inspiration.
It's something. Yeah. Every day I'm scrolling through and I see all your stuff, and it's amazing, and it's so helpful, and it's all different topics. I mean, a lot of fasting, but all kinds of other things. And I just love it. It's it's mind blowing.
I appreciate it. You've been a big supporter, man. And I'm looking forward to being a big supporter. As your music.
Well, you already have. You already have.
It's gonna be great, man. Now we're obviously gonna have to do a part 2 just because I got a call in a minute. But where can people get the album? Tell us, the website, all that type of stuff.
Absolutely. Thank you. So, streaming on all the main services. So Spotify, Apple Music, it's all up on YouTube. Basically anywhere you can get streaming, wherever you stream, whatever, pick your poison, it's available. Because you work with these distributors. I work with a company called TuneCore, and they take care of getting it placed on all the streaming services. And then we have our website. It's Chaz, C-H-A-S, not Z, C-H-A-S, and the Skylands Gang. So just all together, chazandtheskylandsgang.com. And everything's up there as well. What else? I think those are probably the main.
Yeah, we'll get all that in the show notes, and then we'll get this on YouTube. So we'll make sure we have all those links for everybody. And there's so many more questions I have for you. So we'll definitely have to put something on the books for like September.
Well, listen, man, I just want to tell you, for 10 years, you've been one of my heroes, gurus, and go-tos. So
I love it.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
I am extremely grateful to have Kyle Newell in my life. And I will tell you that I presume a lot of people listening to your podcast are already fans of yours, but maybe somebody's tuning in for the first time. If you're Kyle curious, this is a guy you got to check out. He is amazing.
Charles. Thank you very much, man. Thank you. So, guys, definitely check him out. Check the show notes. Chaz and the Skylands Gang. You're going to see these guys at the top, I'm telling you. So you're going to be able to be like, man, I remember when they were, just starting out. So definitely check them out. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll catch you guys later.